The moon cast long, eerie shadows as Prince Ibekwe wrestled with three of his father's strongest guards on the narrow road leading to the forest outskirts. His breathing was heavy. His eyes burned with fury and determination. He wasn't going back, not without Amaka. One guard lunged at him from behind. Prince Ibekwe elbowed him hard in the ribs. Another charged. He grabbed the man by the arm and flipped him over his shoulder. Bones cracked. The third struck him with a spear. The prince let out a grunt, grabbed the weapon, snapped it, and sent the guard tumbling with a kick to the chest. In minutes, the fight was over. One guard lay unconscious. One groaned with a broken waist. The last crawled into the bushes in fear. Ibekwe turned to Amaka, who waited by a tree with fear in her eyes and love in her heart. "Let's go," he said, panting. "We don't have much time." Amaka nodded. She was trembling, not from fear, but from the weight of what they were doing, running away from an entire kingdom. She was Osu, and no one in Umwe's village would ever let a prince marry an Osu. It all started weeks earlier during Izu Amuna, a grand celebration held every 5 years to honor the prince and prepare him for future kingship. The village square was filled with guests. Chiefs sat in a semicircle, clad in their red caps and lion-tooth necklaces. The king, His Royal Majesty Eze Obidike, sat proudly on his throne. He was a tall, dark man with a voice that silenced thunder. "My son," he said loudly before the crowd. "Today, introduce to us the woman who will be our queen." Cheers followed. The drums rolled. Prince Ibekwe stood up. He was 28, huge, dark-skinned and bold. The women whispered as he smiled. The men watched eagerly. "I thank you all," he said. "It is time I present to you the woman I love. Her name is Amaka." Heads turned. The excitement died. Gasps filled the air. "Amaka," murmured Chief Obi. "Which Amaka?" Then she walked in. A beauty of no equal. Slim, caramel-skinned, with bright eyes and grace like water. But the moment people recognized her, shouts began. "She's Osu! Abomination!" Eze Obidike stood, his face red with anger. "Ibekwe, do you know what you've done?" "I do, father," he replied calmly. "I love Amaka. I want to marry her." "She is Osu," shouted another chief. "The cursed ones. We don't touch them. We don't marry them." For centuries, the Osu were considered outcasts in Umweze. Their ancestors were dedicated to deities and were believed to carry spiritual curses. Even if innocent, they bore the shame of a past they did not choose. They were not allowed to marry freeborns, nor take part in key village events. "They say tomorrow the cow will go to war. Will it not be defeated?" said the king bitterly. "You want to bring destruction upon us all." But Ibekwe stood his ground. "Must we live forever in shadows? We all bleed red. Why should a child suffer for what happened hundreds of years ago? Because once a taboo has happened, it must not happen again," the chief priest snapped. "I don't believe in that curse," the prince said, "and if loving her brings me punishment, so be it." They tried everything: counsel, pleading, even threats. Eze Obidike raised his voice. "If you marry her, you bring curse to the land. You may lose your right to the throne." Ibekwe's voice cracked with pain. "If anything happens to Amaka, it won't augur well. When a man eats feces, he uses his nose to suffer. I will kill myself." That was the last straw. Plans were made in secret to eliminate Amaka. Her parents, fearing for their lives, begged her to end the affair. In tears, she did. But Ibekwe knew she loved him. He saw it in her eyes, so he waited till night and took her away. Now, in the heart of the forest, far from home, the prince sat beside Amaka by a small fire. She leaned on his shoulder. "Where do we go from here?" she asked. "I don't know," he whispered, "but I know I'd rather die free with you than live a king without you." The wind howled through the trees. In the distance, the owls cried. Back in Umweze, the palace was in chaos. A prince had disappeared. A kingdom had no heir. How long could love stand against tradition? How long would they stay away? Could they ever return as husband and wife? To be continued in part 2.